You know what nobody warned you about when you retire? It's not the money. Everybody talks about the money. You got enough saved? You got your pension? You gonna be okay? Yeah. The money you figure out. You always figure out the money because you have to. What nobody tells you about is the quiet. I'm not talking about literal silence, although yeah, that too. I'm talking about things in your life that have been humming in the background for so long. Decades, maybe your whole adult life, and you don't even hear them anymore. They're just there. Like a refrigerator running in the kitchen. You stop noticing the sound. Then you retire. And one by one, those things go silent. And suddenly, you're standing in your own house, hearing a kind of quiet you've never heard before. And you don't know if it's peaceful or terrifying. So let me walk you through what goes quiet. Because if you know it's coming, you don't panic when it arrives. And if it's already happened to you, maybe it helps to hear someone say, "Yeah, me too." The first thing that went quiet for me was the sound of being needed on a schedule. I had a shop, Benedetto's Fine Shoes, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I was there 6 days a week for over 50 years. People came in. They needed something fixed. A heel, a sole, a zipper on a boot their kid loved too much to throw away. And I fixed it. Every day. That was the rhythm. Door opens, bell rings, somebody needs something. I do the work. They leave a little better than they came in. You don't think about how much of your identity is built on that rhythm until it stops. When I finally stepped back, and it wasn't one clean day, it was gradual, like turning down a dial. The first thing I noticed was that nobody needed me at 9 in the morning anymore. Nobody was waiting outside the gate. No tickets piling up. No Mrs. Kowalski coming in on a Tuesday with the same brown loafers she'd been wearing since 1987 saying, "Sal, they're making that sound again." And look, I'm not saying that to be sad. I'm saying it because you, right now, wherever you are, you probably have a version of that. Maybe it's not a shop. Maybe it's an office, a classroom, a hospital floor, a truck route. But there's a rhythm to your days where people expect you. And that expectation is doing more for your sense of purpose than you realize. So here's what I'll tell you. Before you retire, start building something where people need you that has nothing to do with your paycheck. Volunteer somewhere. Coach something. Join something. Be the person who shows up at the church kitchen on Thursdays, not because you're paid, but because you chose it. Because when the work schedule goes quiet, and it will, you need something still ringing. The second thing that goes quiet is your anger about work. Now this one's going to sound strange, but stay with me. When you're working, you complain. Everybody complains. You complain about the commute, the boss, the customers, the hours. You come home and you tell your wife, your husband, whoever, you won't believe what happened today. And they listen, or they pretend to, and you vent, and it's like a pressure valve. I used to come home some nights, my hands cracked, my back screaming at me, and I'd sit at the kitchen table and say, "The landlord raised the rent again. The leather supplier shorted me. Some kid came in with a shoe so destroyed I should have charged him double just for making me look at it." And Gloria, my wife, God rest her, she'd hand me a glass of wine and say, "You done?" And I'd say, "No." And she'd say, "Well, finish up because dinner's getting cold." That was the dance. The complaining, the frustration, the daily grind of something. That's not confusion. That's the full experience. That's what it feels like to be engaged with something real. Don't wish it away so fast. And when it does go away, don't be surprised when you catch yourself complaining about having nothing to complain about. It happens. It's human. You fill that space by finding something new that challenges you, something that's a little too hard, something that makes you say, "Why did I agree to this?" at least once a week. That's the sweet spot. That's where the life is. Third thing, the phone stops ringing the way it used to. I don't mean it goes completely silent. Your daughter still calls. Your doctor's office definitely still calls. The pharmacy, they call plenty. But the calls that were about you, someone asking for your opinion, your expertise, your involvement, those thin out. And they thin out faster than you'd think. I had suppliers who called me every week for 30 years. We'd talk shop, argue about prices, sometimes just gossip. Within 6 months of me stepping back, those calls were gone. Not because these were bad people, they weren't. They were busy. They moved on to whoever was doing what I used to do. That's not cruelty. That's just the current of life moving forward. Water doesn't stop because one rock steps out of the river. But I'll be honest with you. The first time I realized a whole week had passed and nobody had called me about anything that mattered, it stung. It stung like a paper cut. Not deep, but sharp. So what do? You become the one who calls. You hear me? Don't sit there waiting for the phone to ring. You pick it up. Call the friend you haven't talked to in 3 months. Call your nephew. Call the guy from the old office who always made you laugh. You be the one who breaks the silence. Because I promise you, half the people you're missing are sitting in their own house waiting for their phone to ring too. That's a rule I learned the hard way. The person who reaches out first isn't the needy one. They're the brave one. Number 4, and this one crept up on me like a cat. Your sense of time goes quiet. When you're working, every day has edges. Monday is different from Wednesday. Friday means something. Sunday night has that little knot in your stomach because tomorrow it starts again. The week has a shape. When you retire, the days round off. Monday feels like Thursday. Thursday feels like Saturday. You wake up and sometimes, I mean this literally, you don't know what day it is. Not because something's wrong with your mind, because nothing in your schedule is telling you. I remember maybe a year after I'd slowed down at the shop, I walked to the bakery on 86th Street to get a loaf of semolina bread. Closed. I stood there like an idiot staring at the sign. Closed back. Not because you're trying to recreate the work schedule, God no. Because a human being needs rhythm the way a song needs a beat. Without it, you're just noise. If you're still working, start those anchors now. Don't wait. Have things in your week that aren't about work, that happen on the same day, that you look forward to. That way, when the work shape disappears, you've already got a skeleton holding you up. The fifth thing, and this one I think is the one that hits men especially hard. The sound of your own authority goes quiet. In your working life, you have a domain. You're the expert. You're the boss, or at least you're the guy who knows where everything is. People defer to you. People ask your opinion. You walk into a room and there's a version of respect that comes from competence, from years of doing the thing. In my shop, I was the authority. I could look at a shoe and tell you what was wrong in 2 seconds. I could tell a customer, no, you don't need new shoes. You need a resole and better insoles. And they'd listen, because I'd earned that. 50 years of being right earned you a certain kind of voice. Then you retire, and that voice, the one people actually listen to, it echoes for a little while, then it fades. You go to a dinner party, and someone mentions a topic you know inside and out, and you start to give your opinion, and you can feel it in the room. The polite nod, the half smile. You're not the authority anymore. You're the old guy with a story, and there's a difference. You feel that difference in your chest. Now, and this is important, that doesn't mean your knowledge is worthless. It's not. It means the stage changed. You're not performing for the same audience anymore. So what do? You find the people who still want to learn. Young people especially. I've had young cobblers, there aren't many, but they exist, come to me and say, Mr. Benedetto, how did you do this stitch? And when I show them, their eyes go wide like I just performed a magic trick. That's the new stage. One person at a time. That's where your authority lives now, and honestly, it's more satisfying than a room full of people nodding politely. Find someone to teach. I don't care what it is. Teach it. Your skill isn't gone just because you left the building. Sixth one. The background noise of stress goes quiet. And you'd think, finally, right? That's the whole point of retiring. No more stress, no more deadlines, no more pressure. But here's what surprised me. When that noise stopped, I didn't feel relieved. I felt empty. I know that sounds ungrateful. Trust me, I don't miss the nights I couldn't sleep because I was worried about paying the rent on the shop. I don't miss the stress of December when everybody needed their shoes fixed for the holidays and I had 2 hands and 10 hours. I don't miss the knot between my shoulder blades that lived there from 1955 to about... And the last thing that goes quiet, and this one I think is the most important, the noise of who you thought you were. Your whole life you build an identity. I am a cobbler. I am a teacher. I am a vice president. I am the person who handles this. You walk through the world wearing that identity like a coat. It keeps you warm. It tells people who you are before you open your mouth. When you retire, that coat comes off. And suddenly you're standing there in your undershirt and you think, wait, who am I if I'm not that? I'll tell you something I've never said out loud before. When I finally stopped working in the shop, I mean fully, not even going in to check on things, I had a morning where I woke up and I didn't know what to do with my hands. My hands, which had been busy since I was 10 years old, which had been shaping leather and hammering nails and pulling thread for the better part of a century. I sat at my kitchen table and I looked at them and they were just hands. Not a cobbler's hands, just an old man's hands. And that scared me more than I want to admit. Because if I wasn't the cobbler, who was I? It took time. I won't lie and say I figured it out fast because I didn't. But slowly the answer came, and it came in pieces. I was the man who made coffee every morning the same way his father taught him. I was the man who walked 4 blocks even when his knees said don't. I was the man who told the truth, who chose joy when sadness was easier, who loved 2 extraordinary women in 1 extraordinary life and felt lucky, not guilty about it. I was the man who wasn't done yet. And that is what I want you to understand. You are not your job. I know you've heard that a million times, but hearing it and knowing it are different things. And you don't really know it until the job is gone and you're standing in that quiet and you have to decide what fills it. I'm 106 years old. I've had a lot of quiet in my life. I've buried more people than I want to count. I've watched my neighborhood change 5 times over. I've seen the world go from horses to rockets and back to arguing about the same things we've always argued about. And what I've learned, the thing I'd carve into a wall if I could, is that the quiet isn't the enemy. The quiet is the invitation. It's life saying, okay, the noise is over. Now, what do you actually sound like? Most people and build something underneath it that's yours, because the quiet is coming for all of us. Every single one of us. And the question isn't whether you'll be ready. The question is whether you'll be glad when it arrives. I'm glad you spent this time with me. I really am. If anything I said made you think about something differently, even one thing, that's enough. That's the whole point. Come back anytime. The door's always open. And tie your shoes tight. You've got places to go.